Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Cornerstone Retirement Partners presents Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Certified Financial Planner Ron Corser and Nolan Gosley. Cornerstone Retirement Partners are planning today for the potential of tomorrow.
And welcome into the program. This is Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids Resource for a common sense approach to planning for our financial, our investment, and our retirement future. He is president and founder of Cornerstone Retirement Partners. Ron Corser here with us. As always, a pleasure, Ron. And we are in a hurried frenzy in the holiday season, aren't we, sir?
We really are. And I want to start everybody off by saying Merry Christmas. We're about a week away. And I hope the Lord's going to bless you with family, friends, grandchildren, and everything, and everybody's healthy. Given that, I also feel like I'm the Grinch that stole Christmas with what we're going to talk about today. Because what we're going to talk about is what's going on a little bit in Washington, D.C., some of the economic issues that are going to impact us next year. And I guess there's never a good time or a bad time to talk about these things. It is what it is. So we're going to go forward. We're going to spend some time talking about what this Build Back Better thing is and some of the rules and changes that are already going to impact us, and some of the things you'll be happy to hear, and some of the things maybe not so much. But remember, I'm the messenger. I did not create any of this. I have no power to change it other than to say on this radio program, let's get together and fix the world right after Christmas when we open the presents.
Indeed. Well, there's a lot to talk about. They have been busy up in Washington as well. So today we will talk about some announcements on changes to Social Security, on changes to Medicare, on changes to tax rates and brackets, what all is included in the Build Back Better plan. And we will, of course, go through some year-end planning and beginning next year on the right foot, some checklist items that you need to have addressed. But as always, if you have questions, would like help or assistance with any of these, Ron Corser and, in fact, the whole team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners there to help and assist. You can give them a call, 616-301-2581. That is 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. So, Ron, the news that we have heard about all year, and probably what we will continue to hear about into next year, is inflation. And at its core, the reason for several of the changes that we will talk about today is inflation. So can we first maybe just address inflation, what it is, and how it affects and impacts savers and investors?
Yeah, inflation is one of the most understood and perhaps misunderstood ideas in economics and politics. In its basic form, inflation is composed of two things: the amount of money floating around, the amount of money that's been printed, created, what have you. But there's a second component to that, and it's called velocity. So if we look back over the last 8, 9, 10 years, the government's been printing money like there's no tomorrow, and like they're going to run out of paper if they don't hurry up and do it. But it's not only our government and our Federal Reserve Bank, it's every bank printing machine in the whole world. They're doing this all over. So we have enormous amount of money, if you will, all kinds of money, American money, everybody else's money. And for the longest time, inflation was very low. The reason for that is because velocity is low, or was low. Now, what is velocity? Think about this. Think about turning money over, and over. We've already seen pieces of that now. We've seen housing prices go through the roof, really. We haven't seen this since 2006, 7, and 8, where people now are bidding up the price of houses today. They don't even have to be put on the market. And I've got clients that have sold their home or their condo, and they've gotten a $20,000 or $30,000 premium over what they ask. People are buying more just to buy and buy. So the amount of money exchanging hands is increasing. That's an example of velocity. Or going to the car dealership and just saying, man, I got to buy a new car now. I just need whatever's on the lot. I'll pay whatever they say. That's increasing the velocity, money changing from one hand to another. We're seeing it in people stocking up in the grocery stores. Even though we've got some holes in the grocery shelves, people are still stockpiling certain things. Prices are going up. So inflation is a function of two things: the amount of dollars that are out there plus velocity. And velocity is increasing, which is creating the increases in inflation that we've experienced, and at least that all the talking heads down in Washington, D.C. have finally started to acknowledge. Now, let's be real clear about inflation. People have said in the financial world that the best hedge against inflation is the stock market, and that's true. But you have to understand, if inflation becomes too big of an issue, it works in the negative, in the reverse. It's not good for stocks. It's not good for any financial assets. So we're kind of between a rock and a hard place now in our economy. We have increasing inflation. The government just recently said it's about 6.4%. But understand that they don't include energy or agricultural food products in that calculation. And we know that both of those things have gone through the roof. So we as people, normal human beings who don't live in Foggy Bottom, we recognize that inflation is really probably much worse than what they're telling us. And eventually they'll probably catch up to it. But politically, it's a real keg of dynamite for the administration and for all those elected officials. If inflation gets out of hand, it's going to impact everybody. So what are we talking about here just before Christmas? We know there's inflation. We don't know when it's going to stop. It continues to go up. So what should we do as investors? Number one, keep a close tab on your investment accounts. Yes, it's okay to be in the market in these kinds of times. Yes, the market has some volatility to it, but be very careful with your advisor. If you're our clients, we've already had these conversations and we continue to do that, to monitor what we're investing in, to make sure that there is some market exposure, but it's not crazy market exposure. It's not the stuff that, overnight can crater 20 or 30%. So you can use inflation to your advantage. Just be very careful on how much additional risk you're taking on in your portfolio. But inflation's with us. It's a function, again, ladies and gentlemen, of two things: the amount of dollars out there in the system and velocity. And velocity is increasing. And that's going to be the little fuse that might hit the dynamite thing here shortly. Let's hope not. So if you're interested in taking a look and getting a third party to look at your portfolio to see if you're positioned to take advantage of some of this inflation, but not to expose yourself to potentially what could be a market correction coming, and I'm not saying it is, give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. We'd be more than happy to set up a time, myself or my partner Nolan, to talk about what you have, what you own. It's never been more important, ladies and gentlemen, if for those of you who are invested in stock market assets, to understand what you own and why you own it, and what's going to be the impact if you own bonds. It's really important to understand what you own. Give us a call. If you want to have a thorough discussion, a real deep dive into what you own, call us, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. I don't want to be the Grinch that stole Christmas. I really don't. But these are something that if we can help you with, maybe we'll keep the Grinch out of your door.
Well, there are a number of things in there, Ron, that I want to touch on here. You mentioned at the very beginning that inflation was maybe one of the most understood and misunderstood concepts financially. A representative, in fact, I think, echoed that. They suggested that all elected representatives should be forced to take a class on inflation and how it impacts every average American. So I think somebody in Washington does agree with you that it may be understood by some and not understood by others. But You mentioned printing of money. Is that in this day and age almost a euphemism? I mean, we're not running the printing presses to create all of the money. It's basically there's a lot of digitization. They just add an extra zero here, 3 extra zeros there, digitally creating a lot of the money that's out there. And they've also mentioned that the inflation that we are seeing could be transitory. They say that almost as though they're saying that it could be temporary. What does that mean? And do you believe that this is transitory or temporary, however you want to take that definition to mean what we are seeing?
On a long enough timeline, inflation is transitory. If we say, okay, over the next 10 or 15 years, inflation could very well be lower than it is today. It's just my opinion. When the politicians use transitory, they're kind of trying to cover their bases so that people don't get too angry too quickly. Inflation is real. Whether it's transitory or non-transitory, that's just a political number. That's just something that they tell us. It's real, and it's going up.
It seems to only go up. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Now, eventually, will it come down? Sure. If we go back to Jimmy Carter days, when inflation was around 17%, they did bring it down. They brought it down very quickly. And we had an economic reset almost, but they did bring it down. But inflation is never transitory. It never is. It goes up and eventually it hits a ceiling somewhere, and then it starts to come down, either because of economic policies that are put into place, changes in interest rates. Because what stopped the inflation in Jimmy Carter world? The Fed jumped interest rates sky high, and that stopped it in about 2 years. But man, that was painful. That was really painful. So you can talk about transitory if you want to, but it's a political issue. If we just stick with economics and what we know is going on around us, inflation's real. So again, the way that we deal with it now, we can't stop what's going on individually. But what we can do is make sure that our portfolio, our retirement investment plan, makes some sense given inflation seeming to want to go up and up and up and up. And it's complicated by what? We have this problem with just trying to get goods and everything to the supermarket, to the stores. The supply chain is fractured. And there's a lot of reasons for it. We don't have to dig into them, but that just makes the problem worse because the few goods that are out there are going to go up in price. And it's happening everywhere. So if you want to know if your portfolio is situated and diversified in a way that gives you the opportunity to make some money in this rising inflation time, but also to protect yourself as much as possible, give us a call. Be more than happy to take a set of eyeballs and just look at what you have. Give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, and we can help you. We can help you navigate this stuff.
Now, Ron, inflation seems to particularly impact retirees more negatively than it does the working public. Are you seeing that? And does that affect the way that you structure portfolios and make recommendations for your maybe different groups of either retired or still working clients?
There is a difference, but whether you're 33 years old or 73 years old, inflation is a problem for you. It really is. And the other thing that impacts folks that are kind of retired, and particularly that come into that golden age called 65, where I joke with clients, I say, when you get to be 65, you get Medicare, you can take your Social Security, you become wards of the state. It's really not that bad. I mean, I've been there for a while, and it's kind of painless. It really is. But the problem is this, is that generally everybody, our clients, I'll use them as an example, we've created income plans for them based on what their expenditures are going to be, what we need to have coming in every month from their different sources, Social Security, pensions, their investment plans and things like that, their retirement income, to make sure they can maintain their lifestyle. So if somebody needs $5,000 a month today to maintain their lifestyle and inflation is going up, we need to be able to add to that $5,000 a month because everything costs more. Yes, we know gas. Yes, we know all of that stuff at the grocery store costs more. But here's the other part that's starting to go up, is what we pay in taxes are going up. So that taxes are just another expense in retirement. So it impacts us directly, whether we're 65 or 35. It's a little more perhaps harder to deal with when you're not working full time, but we can help manage that with people. One of the greatest examples just happened. The government just announced new costs for Medicare in 2022. And in a general, I'm not talking about an Advantage plan, that's going to go up also, but just basic Medicare, Part B, it's going up. The premiums are going up 14.5%. And remember, what's Part B in Medicare? That's the part that's your copay if you don't have a Medigap policy to cover it, or if you're not in an Advantage plan that'll cover some or all of this too. So the premiums of Part B are going up by 14.5%. I'm going to say that again. They're going up 14.5%.
Wow.
And the basic Part B cost now is going to be $170.10. Now think about this. They also announced a while back that Social Security is having a price increase, right? With Social Security, we got a 5.9% increase in our benefits. Praise the Lord. That's the ammunition. They can't raise, here's kind of a dirty little secret. They can't raise the Part B premium unless we get an increase in our Social Security benefit. So they've given us almost a 6% increase in our Social Security benefit, but they've increased Part B by 14.5. So if I do the math on this, that seems like a net negative, and it is. That's another impact of inflation. Inflation gave us a bigger Social Security dividend, but man, it took it all back plus some when it came to the price of our Medicare Part B. So that's another way inflation is really hurting in some way the person who's retired, who's on Medicare, who's on Social Security. Yes, there are people who have other money invested somewhere that helps with their income, but basically for folks, most folks in retirement, the retirement plan is really easy. You deal with Medicare, you deal with Social Security, and then hopefully you got enough money left over in other places to maintain your lifestyle. So if the cost of this is going up, the cost of Medicare is going up, it's a healthcare issue. Healthcare costs always go up. You got to figure out how to cover it. So if you still have a basic Medicare plan and Part B has gone up, guess what else is going to go up? The cost of your Medicare Medigap plan. That's going to go up also. So all of a sudden, yeah, we got a nice increase in Social Security, but man, healthcare costs just kind of went through the roof on us.
Well,
so that's another planning issue that we can help people with. My wife has, in our firm, she does the whole part of the Medicare, Medicaid, all of that planning. And if you're looking at where you are right now, you still have some time to take a look at your healthcare plan. Give us a call at 616-301-2581. If you've got some concerns about what's going to happen to your Medicaid expense next year, call our office. See if my wife and her staff can help you with a review or to provide some options for you that can be so important. 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com, and we'll be happy to make contact with you and give you all the help you need.
Looking at both the wealth and the health planning there at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, you're welcome to give them a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk more with Ron Courser about inflation and Social Security increases, Medicare increases, and changes, inflation adjusted, driven to the tax brackets for 2022, what all of those changes mean to you. Here in just a moment on Your Course to Retirement. Don't go anywhere. Quick break. We'll be right back with more with Ron Courser.
Can you hear that? That's the sound of you setting off on new adventures on the trip of a lifetime that you always dreamed you'd take in your retirement. You worked hard to be able to enjoy these kinds of experiences, and now you can. In fact, you can even enjoy a few upgrades and extras along the way. A big part of this is due to the confidence you feel in the careful planning and mapping out of your retirement with your fiduciary team at Cornerstone Retirement Partners. By sitting down with Ron, Nolan, and the team at Cornerstone Retirement Partners, you created your plan and carefully looked at your income, investments, taxes, health care plan, and it looks like you'll even have a little left over to leave a positive legacy for your loved ones. Now that's enjoying retirement with confidence. For your complimentary planning review and written retirement income map, set up a time to speak with Cornerstone Retirement Partners at 616-301-2581. That's 616-301-2581. Or visit cornerstone-rp.com for your complimentary investment analysis and retirement planning session.
And welcome back to Your Course to Retirement, brought to you by Cornerstone Retirement Partners. And with us on the program, certified financial planner Ron Courser. Leading up to the holidays here, everybody's out there shopping, buying, scooting around, and we're noticing that things are a little bit more expensive. We've heard about wages going up for some, and that's fantastic, but we've also seen an increase in prices basically across the board for almost everything that we pay for. What does that mean for us in our investment and retirement accounts and in our retirement planning? That's what we're talking about with Ron Courser here on this segment of the program. If you've got any questions, you're welcome to give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Ron, before the break, you were talking about how Social Security received an increase, that COLA, the cost of living adjustment, how Medicare also received an increase, which may or may not offset that increase in Social Security. Now, I feel like one of those I heard a lot about. I heard about the fact that Social Security received a historic COLA increase, and that was sort of celebrated to help retirees offset inflation. What does that raise in Social Security mean for retirees, or maybe even those not yet retired?
Well, it's good news. It simply means that people are going to get more in their check. And that's always good news. But, you know, the government giveth and the government taketh away. So the government has given us an increase in Social Security by law. They have to. Why such a big increase? Well, it's dealing with inflation. It's that simple. Now, the impact of that is that not only do we have a little more in our monthly check coming in, but we're having to pay more for everything, from food, from gas. Medicare premiums have gone up, Part B. Medigap premiums will probably go up. Cost of Advantage plans will increase too. This is going to be, it's already across the board, and it's going to continue. So here's where some people kind of make the beginning of a good decision, and then sometimes it turns out badly. The good part of the decision is to take a look at your investment portfolio and ask the question, is it possible? And if so, how do we offset some of these increases in costs with my investment strategy? It's a great question to ask. It's a great question to get some answers to, and we can help with that. With inflation coming up, the cost of everything going up, how do I make my investment strategy work to kind of offset these costs if possible? And it is possible. You can have somebody take a deep dive into what you own and see if you're positioned to take advantage of the stock market wanting to seem to continue to go up, even though there's some volatility there. But here's where I caution people to be very, very careful. Do not, from my point of view as a financial advisor, I've been through this 27 years, seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. It would be not my recommendation that you substantially increase the overall level of risk and volatility in your investment strategy, just to see if you can make up for what's going on with the cost of goods, with inflation and everything like that. A better approach is to say, without increasing the risk in my portfolio, if I can do that, are there other kinds of investments that I might tap into that will give me increased income without substantially increasing the overall level of risk and volatility in my portfolio? And this is where we can be a great help to people, because we do more than just say, here's the greatest exchange traded fund or mutual fund or stock in the world. It really is about developing an investment strategy that gives you the income you need in retirement with the least amount of risk. It doesn't mean you get rid of risk. It just says, what's the least amount of risk I have to take to get the income I need? Now, if our needs for income are going up, perhaps our risk should go up. But I caution people to be very, very careful. There are other kinds of investments out there that create income that don't substantially increase the volatility or overall risk in your portfolio. They're maybe not correct for everybody, just like every investment's not perfect. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in talking about this, please give us a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. We can help you with this. We can help you say, here's some options that you might consider that may be appropriate for you, that will help you increase your income without substantially increasing the level of risk you're taking. Give us a call, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. Put your name, phone number in there, however you want us to contact you. And we will do that, and we will help you. And if you come and see us, when you walk away from us, two things I guarantee you. You have a much better understanding of what you own and how it's going to work or is working in this current environment. And you'll also have a better understanding of what some options may be available that make sense for you as an individual investor that might help you going forward. So give us a call, 616-301-2581. Be more than happy to chat with you.
Always great to have a resource there in your corner. Cornerstone Retirement Partners serve as that resource for so many savers and investors, retirement-minded, proactive planners throughout the Grand Rapids and surrounding areas. And if you would like to have that resource or double check your current plan, pick up the phone and give them a call, 616-301-2581. That is 616-301-2581. In the second half of the show, we will go over some of the items in your checklist that you should be addressing as we move into a new calendar year. Make sure that you start off and maintain a positive path into 2022 and all years to follow with Ron Corser, your certified financial planner. Once again, if you've got questions, would like to review the risk in your portfolio, the fees that you're paying, the taxes that you may be liable for, all the important aspects in your plan, pick up the phone and give them a call, 616-301-2581. Quick break. We'll be back with more with Ron Corser here on Your Course to Retirement in just a moment. And welcome back into the program, Your Course to Retirement with Grand Rapids resource for planning, guidance, and perspective. The team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners with us today, founding partner, CFP, certified financial planner, Ron Corser, here to answer and address financial, investment, retirement-related questions and concerns. We've been talking in the first half of the program about the higher prices that we're seeing, inflation, what you need to be aware of or doing in your financial and investment life to help to address, offset, combat some of this inflation that we are seeing, the changes and initiatives from Washington and in the government programs that are also linked to inflation. We're seeing an announcement that next year we'll receive a nice COLA, cost of living adjustment for Social Security beneficiaries and recipients, 5.9%, a historically high cost of living adjustment. But on the other side, Medicare, an increase to Part B premiums of 14.5%. So a little bit of offsetting there. Ron, another thing that has changed, the IRS actually announced that they would be adjusting tax rates and brackets to help to address some of this inflation as well. So tax rates and brackets a little different in 2022 than they are this year.
Yeah, they are. And it always brings a smile to my face when somebody, and I don't fault you for it, says the IRS has made some changes that'll help us. It's like, I always reach for my wallet when I hear that phrase, but they have made some changes. So let's take just the two lowest brackets, with the 10% and the 12% bracket. So the 10% bracket last year for married couples, meaning all this money in this bracket from $0 to $19,900 is taxed at 10%. For a single person, it's $9,950. So that bracket, the change has been kind of nice. The 10% bracket goes from, for married couples, $19,900 to $20,550. That's a help. Most people are in the 10 to 12% bracket. Sometimes they'll be into 22. The 12% bracket is also improved. It's gone up above 19.9, and now that becomes 20,550. So what we have here is brackets have kind of gone up a little bit. What's more important, I think, a better deduction is that the standard deduction for married couples has also gone up by about $800 a year, and that's 25.9. And if you're over 65, you get a little bump up in that too. So those kinds of things I think are very helpful, and it does kind of help gloss over a little bit of the pain of inflation and things like that, but that is good. And so we can look forward to having that. And again, it's not for this year, that's not for 2021, it's 2022. So keep those in mind. One of the things we do at our firm, and I'll mention this, is we're the kind of firm that helps people understand the tax implication of their investment strategy. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you hear people, or I'll hear people who we meet for the first time said, well, when we talked about taxes, their advisor said, we don't do taxes, talk to your tax advisor. And my response to that is, you don't have to be a CPA to understand the impact of some basic tax moves that happen in people's lives. If you sell something at a gain, what's the tax implication? If you sell something at a loss, what's the tax implication? What about Roth conversions? We can help. We have tax strategy software that can help with Roth conversions. So part of what we do to help people understand, we don't do taxes, but we're smart enough to understand the impact of certain investment decisions on the income tax 1040 form. So that's part of the planning that we do, and we're very upfront about that. When we're going to make a major change in investment strategy, what's the tax implication of that for you? You need to know that. You need to know all the details before you push the button on saying making that change. Because making a bad decision, you don't get a do-over when it comes to tax issues. So we make it part of our practice to do the very best we can. We're given guidance and direction. And we also really appreciate it when we're able to work with our client's tax person, because that gives us the power, if you will, to make the very best decision for the client. I joke with our clients a lot. I said, there's two people our clients will always do what they're told. Two people, always. And that's the tax guy and the lawyer. No matter what we say, the tax guy and the lawyer tell them exactly what to do, and they'll do it. But we can work with these advisors to give you the very, very best option to make great financial decisions for yourself. So if this is the kind of service, if this is the kind of work you need, if this is the way you want to relate to your financial advisor, our firm, give us a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com, put your name in and how you'd like us to contact you, and we will help you with these kinds of things.
Ron, I think that communication and coordination is so important, and it'd be like building a house if you had the general contractor design the home but did not communicate where they wanted the bathrooms with the plumbers, did not communicate where they wanted the light fixtures and the appliances with the electrician. If those people were not communicating, you could have the best electrician, the best plumber, the best general contractor, but if they did not communicate on where their jobs started and ended and worked together, then you would not get the final product that you wanted. Or maybe, we're in football season here, a sports analogy. If you had a quarterback and all of the wide receivers in the offensive line were not communicating, they were on completely different pages, you would not likely have a very successful end result for that game. Same is true in the planning world. The financial advisor, the tax advisor, the legal professional, the lawyer, really all need to communicate their efforts to help each and every one of us achieve the goals that we would like to see happen financially, building as much, tax-wise, keeping as much, legally, preserving as much.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I think you're absolutely right. But the football analogy, for us Detroit Lion fans. I don't know when the last time everybody was on the same page. I really don't. It's like we're the most pathetic fans in the whole world. You know, I used to tell people, I'm digressing for a moment, if you were a Chicago Cubs fan, that was almost a cult. You know, the Cubs were never going to win. It was a cult. You were proud to say, I'm a Cubs fan. Then they actually won something. Detroit Lion fans they've never achieved cult status. We're just kind of, since 1957, we haven't won jack. We've been miserable, and we could be going through another unwinnable season, if you will. So, you know, I understand all of that. I guess being a Lion fan just kind of brings back those poignant memories. So yeah, it's important to get everybody on the same page. You know, you're constructing a house. If you don't have all these guys working together, what you got is a tree house without a porta potty, and that's not a good read at all. So give us a call. We can help coordinate what's going on in your financial life and in your financial future to make some sense. So give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Be more than happy to help you. Go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com, and we'll do the very best to get to you and help you.
Maybe not the segue that we're looking for, but the Lions and the government maybe have something in common in trying to build back better. We recently passed the Build Back Better and the infrastructure spending bill, Ron. This is an interesting piece of legislation, one of the largest bills on record. Another one of these, we have to pass it to know what's in it, bills that were proposed. But now that it has passed, it looks like there are a number of things where we understand there's spending going certain places, and they've got to get that money from other places, right? And so there are some provisions in this bill that specifically affect retirement accounts. Most of them are going to affect the ultra wealthy, those with $10 million or more in their retirement accounts. But a couple of interesting things that they did is they had some language in there about the backdoor Roth conversions. I know that is something that is basically now on the table that says, yes, those strategies were legitimate when you did them before, but into the future, we might not allow those any longer. And then, of course, there have been some other changes with like the Secure Act, which essentially amounts to kind of a de facto death tax when IRAs pass from one generation to the next.
You know, I'm always leery in my stage of life here when the government uses words that say, you know, the Health Security Act, Build Back Better.
Anything that it says it does, we better be careful because it might do just the opposite, it seems.
You know, Ronald Reagan says, what are the worst words you can ever hear? Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. So given all of that, anytime you hear about a bill that says we got to pass it to find what's in it, ultimately, I think people, regardless of Democratic, Republican persuasion, know that what's coming down the road, nobody knows about. And everybody is probably going to be impacted some way, somehow. It always goes back to this. All the politicians talk about is they're only going to tax the rich people, those evil 1%ers. We're going to tax them and they're going to pay for everything. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not a dirty little secret. It's pretty well known. If you just took all the income, all the money from the wealthy, the basketball players, the hedge fund guys, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, just take their money. We don't have enough money to run our country for a whole year. So no matter how many times you tell you're going to tax the rich, it's not going to work. Where's the real big money in America? It's with the middle class, or what's left of the middle class. The people who have IRA accounts, 401ks, 403bs. Depending on who you listen to, there's between 24 and $28 trillion in those accounts that the middle class has. What's the current deficit long term? It's about 26 trillion, right? That's some great math. So no matter what they talk about when it comes to, we're only going to tax the rich, those rules always come down to the middle class. They must, because that's where the big money is. But politically, it's easier to sell. Oh, we're going to tax somebody else, but it always comes down on us. So let's talk about some of the things that are included, I think, in this bill, although everybody's still trying to figure it out. One of the things they're going to do is they're going to change how IRAs are dealt with, particularly Roth IRAs, but in IRAs in particular. They're going to limit contributions. I'm gonna read this because it's too juicy to not read it. So, in addition to being able to put money away, if you have too big of an account in an IRA, you're not going to be allowed to put any more money in. So what does that mean? Let's say you have $10 million in your IRA. Well, for this year, you can't contribute $7,000 to your IRA. They're getting rid of that. So
it seems totally insignificant, Ron.
Right now, in my brain, Bill Gates is saying, oh my goodness, I can't put $7,000 into my IRA. What am I going to do? So those are the kind of rules that are in there. There's another one that says there's certain kinds of investments we won't allow in IRAs. Things like real estate investment trust and things like that. This one may get kicked out because it would impact negatively a lot of people. And Wall Street is a pretty big lobbying firm, and it would decimate a certain section there. But they're also saying that you can't hold what are called illiquid assets, meaning assets that can't be traded on a daily basis in your IRA. I don't think this one is going to pass muster. I think it gets taken out simply because it would be detrimental to the Wall Street guys, and it would hurt individual investors who already have those kinds of investments.
By definition, Ron, I mean, if I am 41 years old, isn't my retirement account intended to be illiquid for about another 20 years anyway? I mean, there's
you're being a mess right now and trying to upgrade your portfolio. Yeah, what you say makes great sense. So you have to understand. And ladies and gentlemen, understand something. Two things about me. I love my country. And I do have the right to be somewhat nicely critical of the people who are making rules which quite often don't apply to them. It's not a big deal to me if, Peter, you have $10 million in your IRA. Bless you. I'm so glad God has blessed you with that. But I don't think you're evil because you have done things according to the law over the last 10 or 20 years to accumulate that. But when it comes to making rules, some of these rules don't apply to the people who make them. But a lot of times these guys don't understand the impact of what they're voting on. Think about this. If you have $10 million in your IRA, you can't make a deposit to your IRA. Why would they do that? That's stupid, right? Where's it coming, ladies and gentlemen? The middle class. Once this gets put into place, they're going to realize you're not getting as much tax revenue on it. And eventually it's going to come down into the middle class. It always does. Here's a great example. One of the pieces of this bill, I think it's in this one and maybe tacked on to the one they're trying to pass too, is to eliminate the Roth IRA conversion strategy. Now, we've had discussions with people for the last 10 or 15 years. And when we talk about Roth IRAs, quite often what I hear is, well, they're going to change the tax rules on it. No, they're not going to change how that money is being taxed. But what I have told people, it's just my opinion, I've even stated it on a radio program, I think ultimately they're going to eliminate the Roth IRA account. So I think the first step into that is they've put into place here, we'll see if it finally does pass, the ability to stop Roth conversions. Now think about how a Roth conversion works. This is where it really gets, you want to know how government works? This is a great example. Roth conversion, you take money out of your IRA that hasn't been taxed, you allow the government to tax it, and then you put the remainder into a Roth IRA, which then will grow tax deferred, and the money will come out tax free as long as you follow some simple rules. They're going to squash that program, but they're not going to do it for 10 years. Think about this. Why would they do that? Why would they say we want to stop the Roth conversion, but we're not going to do it for 10 years? Well, two reasons. Number one, that tells us that they know Roth conversions are a really good idea for us, But most importantly, it creates tax revenue. It creates tax revenue. So they're going to put this in place. I think this is going to become law. They're going to say, okay, we got 10 years to 2032, do as much Roth conversion stuff as you want, pay us the tax, we're going to be happy, and then we're going to shut them down. And what I've told our current clients who don't have these Roths, and we go through this every year with them in reviews, you may not have a Roth now, but it may make some sense to create a small Roth account, just to, so to speak, get on record and have it, because I think one day they do stop them. It's just my opinion, but I think one day they do say, no more Roths, but if you have one, you can use it. So this is another example of how that high-priced talent we send to Washington, D.C. is figuring out how to get more tax revenue. So I think the good news is that they're encouraging us to do Roth conversions because they know what's coming down the road. The bad news is they put a limit on how long we can do it, 10 years. But for most of us, that gives us a good opportunity to make a great start to do a Roth conversion. So some of this is kind of ringing a bell with you folks out there listening. Give us a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. Put your name and information in there, and we'll contact you. It's too late this year to do a Roth conversion. It really is, but it doesn't mean you can't start planning to do a new one next year, or if you don't have one, to start the idea of talking to somebody. A Roth conversion is not a one-time thing. It really is a strategy. It's a long-term strategy to create as much tax-free income for you down the road. Some of the questions that come up at times is, well, am I too old? I'm 73 years old. I'm too old. Well, if you think you're going to live another 20 years, what's the difference between being 73 or 53? It still makes great sense. Because if you believe, like I do, that the potential for tax increase is going really high, we ain't seen nothing yet, as the saying goes. Give us a call, 616-301-2581. I know I'm reminded of a Yogi Berra stat. I think it was Yogi Berra who said, you know, making predictions are really hard, especially when they're about the future. I think one of the things we can be pretty accurate upon is the future holds higher taxes for all of us. So why not prepare today for that event coming down the road? And give us a call. We can create a Roth strategy, investment strategies that will give you an opportunity to make some potential gain in this higher inflation environment by protecting as much as we can the downside, and also creating a strategy for you to create as much tax-free income down the road as is rational and possible. So give us a call at 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. Be more than happy to help you.
Well, and if you are 53 or 73 or anywhere between or outside of those, and you are not yet using those tax deferred accounts, you may be in the future, and wouldn't you like them to be tax-free when you use them? Or if you leave them behind, very few savers and investors, I feel, want to leave the IRS as the largest beneficiary of their accounts. So being proactive with those Roth strategies makes sense. And thanks to the adjustments with the standard deduction for 2022 and the changing of the tax brackets for 2022, we may actually have a little bit more wiggle room to convert a few extra dollars at lower rates. So there are strategies available, ladies and gentlemen. You just need to identify where and when and how much is right for you. Ron Courser and the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners can help you with that. Pick up the phone, give a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581. When we come back, we'll talk about our final wrap-up year-end and starting 2022 financial checklist so that you can make sure you're on the right path and keeping the correct course to retirement. Here with Ron Courser on Your Course to Retirement. That's when we come back in just a moment. And welcome back into the program. This is Your Course to Retirement. Peter Rashan here, along with the founder of Cornerstone Retirement Partners, certified financial planner Ron Courser. Grand Rapids, your resource for a common sense approach to planning, and always trying to keep us on course and on track we have a great checklist, Ron, and this is something that we sort of review and update each year. It's something that as we move through different phases of our financial lives, we will continue to find helpful, but your year-end and financial and retirement planning checklist, something that you do make available for listeners of the radio program, viewers of the podcast.
I recommend this to everybody, and it's something we hand out. We're going to hand out too to our clients doing reviews. And understand, ladies and gentlemen, with our clients, we do face-to-face reviews at least twice a year. Yes, it does take time for us, but we think it's that important because there's nothing like talking to somebody and listening to them to find out what their concerns are, what they're trying to accomplish. It's more than, hi there, here's your stuff, have a nice day. So we do this on a proactive basis. We schedule these reviews in our CRM system. People don't fall through the cracks. And I think we're good at what we do. But this checklist is something we will use going forward with people because it has issues like taxes. How do they evaluate your current tax rate? What is your RMD? Do you have RMDs this year? What are you going to do about them? Health insurance. Can my wife's crew help you? She's the one that does the Medicare. If you're not Medicare eligible, she does the open healthcare stuff. Anything we need, we can have her find for clients to give them the care they need. Investment analysis. Are you maxing out your retirement plan? Are you putting in as much as you can? Do you have the right mix of investments, but does the strategy make sense? It's always the strategy and not necessarily the investments that's most important, particularly as we're going into what we think is going to be a continuing kind of environment of rising inflation. Are you prepared for that? What about creating an income plan, a spending plan as you get closer to retirement? You may be 3 or 4 years away, but wouldn't it be nice to know where you stand right now? One of the things I sometimes do with folks to help them, they may be 4 years away from retirement, but I say, let me help you by doing this. Let's pretend that your last day of work is next Friday. That's it. What's going to happen to you? Do you have a retirement strategy in place to maintain your lifestyle? Are you going to have to scramble to make ends meet? We can do that kind of work for you. And it's like knowing in advance, okay, I'm going to be fine. If the company calls me tomorrow, I'm going to be fine. If they do call me, I'm not going to be fine. But these are the things that we've talked to Ron Corser about, or Nolan Gosley, my partner, that we have in place. We're ready for whatever happens. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be ready for whatever happens, you can call our office or email us. We'll send you this simple one-page 2022 checklist. It's a great little checklist to have. If you want some hands-on guidance and counseling, call us, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, or go to our website, www.cornerstone-rp.com. There's enough going on in the world where doesn't it make sense, to answer this simple question, doesn't it make sense to make sure you've covered all the bases?
Indeed.
I think it does. And that's where we can help you cover all the bases. We can make sure that there's nothing uncovered. Nothing's going to happen to you that you'll come back and say, we didn't think about that, or man, that surprised us. No, because we kind of do that kind of work. As Yogi Berra said, and I said earlier, predicting the future is really hard, when you're trying to make those kinds of predictions. But we can help at least say, you know what? Let's take a look at all the things that may happen, and let's see if we have a strategy for them. So if this is important to you, call us, 616-301-2581.
Santa's got his list. He checks it twice for your financial life and well-being into the future. You should have this checklist as well. Covers income and expenses, taxes, investment analysis, health care, and insurance. I like the list of key events, reminders that at 50, we can add more to those retirement accounts with those catch-up contributions. At 55, we may be eligible to take penalty-free withdrawals from 401ks. That's one that not a lot of people are even aware of. At 59 and a half, we can take more control over retirement dollars. Somewhere between 62 and 70, carefully strategize, because that's the Social Security age range, and somewhere in there, you and your spouse will probably be making some decisions on when and how to effectively claim and collect your Social Security. Of course, 65, that is Medicare enrollment age, and Nancy Courser can help you with that. Somewhere between 55 and 85, considering long-term care protection options, and then at 72, as the laws stand today, that's when we're required to begin making withdrawals from those IRAs. So those are just some of the things on the checklist that you will find helpful, informative, that you can make sure that you are taken care of, ladies and gentlemen. Give Ron Courser and the team from Cornerstone Retirement Partners a call, 616-301-2581, 616-301-2581, a great checklist for you to have to make sure that you are taking advantage of all the opportunities that you have, making financial progress, and executing those must-dos in order to achieve your financial goals. 616-301-2581. Ron, always a pleasure to have you as the resource here on your course to retirement.
Yeah, this has been fun, and I want to wish everybody a blessed and Merry Christmas. And may the Lord our God pour out his Spirit upon you and his favor upon you, and bless your children, your grandchildren, your family with health and prosperity. And I just pray that it'll go well with you. I think ultimately we're going to be okay, ladies and gentlemen. We just got a little ways to go here. So don't lose faith, and don't lose track of who's really in charge of all this. So bless all of you. Merry Christmas. And I'll be on another one here very soon. Take care.
Tune into Cornerstone Retirement Partners' full radio program, Your Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock at News Radio WOOD, or visit cornerstone-rp.com for many valuable resources, including those mentioned on this show and other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott and Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements, and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services.
Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals or growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the products featured.
Tune in to Ron Courser's full radio program, A Course to Retirement, Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. on WOOD, and visit roncourser.com for many valuable resources, including other great episodes of Your Course to Retirement.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor.
Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group is solely an indication that the financial advisor has attended training provided by Ed Slott and Company, passed biannual examinations on material covered at conferences and in webinars, and met other membership requirements and does not constitute an endorsement of any kind. Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group members pay a fee for the educational programs that allow them to be included in the Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor Group. Membership does not guarantee investment success. Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.